All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, waste. And I'm not talking about the kind my dog makes on our morning walks, though I do think that the amount of trust I put in those poop bags to work properly needs to be very high. No, I'm talking about the waste in the advertising and marketing industry, which on some days feels like we're squeezing blood from a stone, and other times feels like a bloated behemoth that's bleeding money like a stuck pig. Now, there are a few things that triggered these thoughts over the last few days. The first was a report from PQ Media that global ad and marketing spend is expected to skyrocket to a staggering $1.76 trillion in 2024. That's trillion with a T, which is enough to fund a small country's GDP, or buy a few private islands in the Caribbean, or maybe a beach club for the week it can. Because the second trigger that sparked my consideration, and this rumination on waste, was the first wave of early invitations and posts about Cannes, which is less than 3 months away. And while this is my favorite networking event of the year, the wasteful nature of these types of experiences is well documented and often talked about. I think the only thing more excessive than the waste in Cannes is the FOMO from people who are not there. So where does all this cash go, really? Yeah, it's a significant chunk that's funneled into these expensive boondoggles like wining and dining industry bigwigs and brand-sponsored globe-trotting trips and gifting campaigns for influencers. But the rest, I'm not so sure. It disappears into the ether. Missed eyeballs, failed connections, shitty creative, expensive yet lost pitches. And let's not forget the excessive ad spends that don't drive a lick of ROI, otherwise known as the pay and spray approach. You know that famous quote from U.S. retail magnate John Wanamaker, right? Half of my advertising budget is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half. It's probably more than half. It's like they're taking a fire hose of capital and just spraying it into the abyss, hoping that something will stick. Talk about wasteful. So we think programmatic helps. We think AI is going to help. But the consumer trends, the expectations, and behaviors, they move faster than the machines. I'm sorry. The waste will reign. Yet one thing that is being addressed, and in a very messy way right now, is the post-pandemic bloated headcounts. With the AI revolution looming, predictions that entire marketing departments are about to become as redundant as a fax machine in a smartphone factory are prevalent, but we just don't know yet. So while companies are happy to splash out on acquisition costs that can be a whopping 25 times higher than retention budgets, they're effectively creating a leaky bucket situation. And this is where I think the real waste is happening. New consumers are pouring in one end, while existing ones are hemorrhaging out the other. So it's time to wake up and smell the 𝐬𝐡𝐢𝐻𝐭, folks. We need to address this excessive spending and start focusing on what really matters, retaining consumers and driving actual ROI. Instead of blowing fortunes on frivolous perks or ineffective ad campaigns, why not invest in creating better products and services that people actually want? It's a crazy idea, I know. And for those marketing departments living on borrowed time, it's actually time to reframe the narrative about how all this new tech is just new tools to make output slightly better and the outcomes more measurable. I think we're, a year away from a colossal reckoning in this industry about the imbalanced wastefulness. No, it is not a new problem, but it's more accelerated and it's more amplified. The marketing industry needs to get its house in order, cut the fat, start focusing on what really matters, which is delivering that value to consumers and driving sustainable growth. Because at the end of the day, no amount of whining or dining or globetrotting can save a company that's bleeding cash and failing to retain its customer base. I don't expect anyone to cancel their travel plans or their marketing events or their T&E budgets or even put down the champagne flutes and pick up calculators overnight. There were 5 major industry events last week and I wanted to be at all of them. But this should be the real fear, not AI coming for our jobs, but that some human being somewhere in a windowless office is actually keeping track of this waste and then comes up with a plan to fix it. Because I have no doubt that the future of marketing has to be leaner, smarter, and a whole lot less wasteful.